the narcissist neglect, when that person you care for so much and love so much, who you once thought cared and loved for you, suddenly becomes like it's living with a stranger. I'm Elizabeth Shaw. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers. If you are new to the channel, this channel is all about the narcissist personality disorder, to give you more understanding of the things you might have been through throughout your life, how to handle narcissistic people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to try to find out what works for you to recover from narcissistic abuse. If you do find the information on the channel helpful, please do subscribe. So this video is about the narcissist neglect. If you had a narcissistic parent, or if you had a narcissistic relationship, at some point you will have been neglected, and it's quite hard to call out that kind of behaviour, but at some point you will have been neglected. And then when you meet another narcissist that mirrors you and love bombs you and idolises you, because you've been neglected in the past, when you meet someone that is flattering you and you don't realise it's flattery, you believe it to be compliments, you believe them to be coming from a good, well-meaning place, you don't understand they're coming from a place where they're willing to exploit you, it lifts you up when you've been neglected in the past. A narcissist neglect is a manipulative tool that many of them use. Some of them do it calculatedly, like when they're doing the silent treatments, and some of them is just instinct. When they feel criticised in some way, that silent treatment is just because they've received some form of criticism, whether you meant it or not. The same as the sulks, it can just be they perceive something you did or said as criticism. It's still wrong, they shouldn't just sulk and neglect people, but they perceive something as criticism, so they fell silent or started sulking. With others, it is more calculated and more planned out to meet a need of their own. But with both methods, with the characteristics behind the disorder, it's always to meet a need of their own, whether they are consciously aware or not. So neglect means failing to care for people correctly. There's emotional neglect when the narcissist ignores, intimidates, invalidates, humiliates, isolates, plays down your thoughts, your feelings, and your memories. There's physical neglect in many different ways. There is physical neglect, but just withholding hugs, withholding that support when you are in some form of pain, and they will stand there and watch you cry, or they will walk out of the room, whether they've caused the pain or whether something else has caused the pain. They don't offer that support, they don't offer that understanding, they don't offer that acknowledgement. There's financial neglect, and I shall add the link for the financial abuse video, because I think it's 96%, something like that, of these relationships have some form of financial abuse, and it is financial neglect. And there's many different ways narcissistic people use financial abuse against other people, so that people don't always realise they are being financially abused when they are indeed being financially abused. They are coercive, controlling in one form or another to take control of your money, to neglect you financially, be it to find methods to stop you from working, whether that's to keep you up all night, to keep you tired, to sabotage job interviews, hiding shoes or clothing from you, hiding car keys from you so you're stressed, making it so that the childcare arrangements don't go to plan, or whether that's keeping you working but making sure that you give them enough money for fear of reactions. If you don't, there's plenty of ways a narcissist will neglect you financially, whether you're the one earning the money or whether they're the one earning the money, or even if both of you are earning the money. There's many manipulative ways a narcissist will neglect you financially, which also comes down to the supplies of food within the house. They can neglect you through food. Parents can do it with children, making sure, and a parent with a parent can make sure that you are living in fear, so you make sure that the narcissist has the money for their requirements, not leaving you enough money to get the food that you or your children need. You might message them to say that you need a loaf of bread, and they will come home from the shop with, or come home from work, whatever the situation is, with, oh, I forgot. Well, what have you been doing all day? And create that environment, create that argument. You might not have even had any money to be able to go around to the shop to get that bread. The narcissist will find some way that if you, it's that double bind where you are damned if you do and you are damned if you don't, because if you don't ask them to pick up the bread and you've got some, they'll want to know what you've spent the money on. If you ask them to pick up the bread, they might start questioning what you're doing. If you ask them and they forget, they'll somehow twist it onto you whether you've got the money or not. So no matter what you do to try and get that food to feed yourself and the children, the narcissist will find a way to place that fear into you, so you walk on eggshells and conform to their demands. And then now and again they'll offer that intermittent reinforcement, and they'll take you all out for a nice meal to make it look like it's something you've done wrong and not what they're actually doing to you. Not all narcissists go into the rage. A lot of narcissists can just simply use neglect as a method of control. Not all narcissists will actually take down your boundaries, but they will use the method of neglect as a form of control. They withhold attention, affection, and support as a way to destroy your self-esteem, so that you never feel respected, you never feel understood, you never feel heard, you never feel like you matter. You never feel wanted, you never feel included, and you don't feel worthy. You just don't feel enough around the narcissist. With their intermittent reinforcements of playing nice, their neglect often gaslights us into neglecting ourselves. When they bring back that intermittent reinforcement of charm or false hope of the future, or when they're gaslighting with, well, if you hadn't, I wouldn't, or well, if you hadn't have done this, then yes, we would have done that. So let's you work on that, and then we'll go on that holiday next year. You just look after the children while I work to earn the money, and we'll buy the house next year. You do this, it's always you do this, and we'll do that next month. Or, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Or, oh, stop being so dramatic, stop being so sensitive, stop overreacting. I never said that. You're imagining things, and if you push it and push it and push it, and you start to wake up and realise what's happening, that's when they start to say you're crazy. And they'll come in with their sleep deprivation, things like this, to potentially get you into the hospital, into the doctors, to go on medication for things like anxiety and depression, because we don't realise that it's their treatment of us, their neglect of us, that's making us feel anxious, that's making us feel depressed. Because we can recognise within ourselves that perhaps we're not being ourselves, we're not as happy as we used to be, we're not as joyful as we used to be, because we're losing our dreams, we're losing our hopes, because we might be feeling lonely and might be feeling sad. Their words kind of match up with how we're feeling, so we believe them, and we then work harder to please them to get the attention. And when they give us the attention because we've got something right by the narcissist's mind, that enforces within our minds that it's actually us that's to blame and not the very person that's making us feel that way that's to blame. The narcissist conditions you, whatever they are doing within a moment of that relationship, they are conditioning you to change who you are time and time again to please them. When you get it right with them, when whatever that need is for the narcissist at that moment in time, you can't get it right with them because half the time they don't know what they want, and sometimes they can just be bored. So you're never going to be able to be enough for a narcissist, because a narcissist isn't enough. They're always looking for more because they don't feel like they're enough. They are always looking for more. You are enough as a person for who you are as a person. You be enough for yourself, not for those who try to shame you, neglect you and bring you down. Those people are doing this because they have problems within themselves, and they're not problems you can help them with. You will never be able to raise somebody up who is committed to dragging you down. And yes, we have empathy, we have guilt, we have object consistency, we want to help them, but at some point when all they're doing is damaging us, we have to step away. Children especially, when they've got narcissistic parents, some children can go quiet and withdrawn and into themselves, and some children are naturally like this anyway. Other children it is because there is an emotional abuser somewhere in the background of their life. Other children can go all out to get attention, because to them any attention is attention, and when they're not receiving any attention from the very people they want attention from, it's devastating for young children. And narcissistic parents can do this in separated homes by simply not collecting the children when they said they would to the children, because they'll not communicate with the other parent about what, so that the children don't know. They'll let the children know they're coming, and then they'll not turn up, and then they'll blame the parent for them not turning up. They don't get that this is neglecting the child, this is harming the child, this is hurting the child. When a child is looking forward to seeing a parent and the parent is a no-show, there is no excuse to neglect a child in that way. You might be running late, in which case you would phone to let somebody know. There might be some form of emergency, but it would be an emergency, and you would phone to let your children know, or let the parent know, and arrange something so that the child knows they've got something to look forward to. Oh, this has come up so they can't, but they will be there in an hour. They will be there tomorrow, even though they wouldn't have normally been there tomorrow. So the child then learns that, oh, but they did come tomorrow because of this. With a narcissist, they don't do it like that. They offer those intermittent reinforcements. With a non-narcissistic parent, that will be a one-off situation. With a narcissist, they do this on a regular basis to raise the child's hopes up and then neglect the child. The narcissist, if the child is doing an activity, a hobby, a sport, or doing well at school, or doing something that the narcissist classes as pleasing to the narcissist will often show up to play the good parent role. But when the child's doing something the narcissist isn't keen on, that's when the narcissistic parent often disappears on the child, or invalidates the child, or shames the child, or humiliates the child into feeling shamed of, why would you want to do something like that? So the child is constantly questioning themselves and looking to the narcissistic parent for approval. There is many ways narcissistic parents neglect their own children's needs. One is just not listening to the children, just not being willing to listen. Yes, children need discipline, they need boundaries, they need to learn to share, they need empathy, but when parents just aren't willing to listen full stop, unless it meets the narcissistic parent's needs, parents can get busy, that's part of life, but with a narcissist it's that continued pattern of behaviour. We can have narcissistic friends, bosses, parents, partners that can all neglect if they are narcissistic, and they can all offer that love bombing, that flattery, that idolisation to lift us up, just to then pull us crashing back down. Again, this is to do with the traits behind the actual disorder. So a narcissist believes that they are special, therefore they believe that their needs come before other people. A narcissist wants to exploit people, therefore a narcissist will do what they can to get somebody's attention on the narcissist, to lift that person up. A narcissist will give only if they've got something to then take from the person. The lack of empathy, so they just don't care if you're hurt, only if they can exploit you in some way from your feelings, only if they can use your feelings against you to get a need met of their own will they care. They lack the empathy to genuinely care for you. Their arrogance, they believe they are entitled to do what they want when they want. That arrogance where it's often mistaken for confidence, that arrogance, that they just believe they're entitled. That entitlement that their needs come before other people's, so they're just not interested. The preoccupation, so they might be preoccupied with work. People can need to work to earn money and can be preoccupied. With a narcissist, yes, they might be preoccupied with work, but you're also looking for that lack of empathy. You're also looking for them exploiting other people. You're also looking for that entitlement within the narcissist. People do need at least 5 of the 9 characteristics to be classed as on the disorder. I shall add that video up there also. With a narcissist, neglect, they make you feel like you are an inconvenience. It makes you feel like you are unworthy, like you are not enough. It makes you feel lonely, it makes you feel depressed, it makes you feel intimidated, it makes you feel isolated. You might start isolating yourself from people without the narcissist divide and conquer and triangulation. You may begin to start isolating yourself because your emotional needs are being neglected and you no longer know who you are as a person. You might start avoiding talking to people because you're being neglected by one person, because you don't feel enough. You might start avoiding talking to people for fear of reactions from other people, for fear of people misunderstanding you as a person, for feeling like you don't belong, that you shouldn't be allowed an opinion, you shouldn't be allowed a point of view because of the narcissist conditioning of your subconscious mind. You might become more emotional. You might go the other way and become less emotional, start cutting off your own emotions because nobody has understood your emotions anyway. So you might start actually cutting your own emotions off, or becoming hypervigilant, or becoming more emotional, having extreme mood swings. And then when you've got a narcissist who has neglected you into feeling this way, telling you that you're not good enough, that you need help, that you've got no one, you believe what the narcissist is telling you, especially when there was that idolization stage or that love bombing stage in the beginning, or those intermittent reinforcements. You believe the narcissist to be telling the truth and go to them more for that support, not getting the support. So a few things you can do is, 1, start getting your emotions out, writing them down, start journaling your thoughts and feelings and getting those emotions out. 2, finding that validation, finding that reassurance, things like EMDR treatment that helps get into your subconscious and get those things out, or finding the right therapist for you. Some therapists are very well educated, but they're educated in a way that doesn't suit your needs. There's nothing wrong with their techniques or methods, it just doesn't suit who you are as a person. So find the right therapist, the right coach, the right support group. Find what you can relate to that helps you and helps you out of the situation, or helps you process your thoughts and feelings. Most people have good intentions, but it doesn't always match with the place you are at. So finding the right support for you to get that validation, to feel understood. Because remember, you can be with someone and feel alone, and you can be alone and not feel lonely. I shall add the video into the description on limiting beliefs and the video about how they take down your self-esteem and how they place those self-doubts, to explain more on what their conditioning actually does to you. And one thing to do today is start tuning into your emotions again. Start listening to your instincts and what they are telling you. And another tip is, if you remember a time, if you get triggered from a time when you felt neglected, give yourself that hug. Give yourself that validation. You might feel silly, but it also might just make you laugh. And another thing is, find the things within the day that make you laugh, that make you smile, because when you're finding your sense of humour, whatever that sense of humour is for you, it's very hard to feel depressed when you're laughing. So find the things that make you laugh. I hope everyone has an amazing day. Bye.